We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. 'Twas the night before the payroll number. And as we all sit around and contemplate how grateful we are for whatever we have, as we watch what goes on in California, we have to ask ourselves, this payroll number coming out tomorrow and then the CPI on January 15th, everyone's all wound up about it in the bond market. And the big question is, should they be? A brief history of what's life is like the day before and the morning before a big jobs number. Once upon a time, I worked in the futures exchange in Chicago, right? And then the morning of the payroll number, we used to, the futures exchange, when it was all done by humans, it had restaurants, it had places where you would eat, it had almost like a locker room facility. And there'd be no talking the morning of the payroll number. That's how big of a deal it was in the bond market, because I worked in the bond room where they had the 30-year bond futures contract. There's no talking. All you could hear was like, spoons clanking on dishes. That's it. And even competitors would like fist bump each other and wish each other good luck before you go in, because, when it was all done by hand signals, let's just say that left room for error when things went absolutely nuts, which they often did off these kind of numbers. So welcome back to the 90s. We have a bond market debacle headed into major economic numbers. What's the best thing you can do? Well, you don't know what the numbers are. They've been fake for 2 years, but you still don't know what they're going to be. You don't know if they're going to show terrible jobs to make Donald Trump look bad, or if they're going to show great jobs to freak the bond market out, okay, to make Donald Trump look bad. All right. So all you can do in crypto is get ready, right? Say, all right, what is the market currently doing? What's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario? I think the best case scenario is that you get 3 days of like unknown chop, because this fire in Los Angeles creates a whole other picture that's very hard to read. All you can do is prepare yourself, right, for the best case scenario, which is that the British pound, which is now being called the Great British Peso, okay, is signaling that the foreign exchange markets are sick and tired of what governments are doing. Now, we have a bond market that's sick and tired of what our government's doing. And over there, they have a currency and a bond market that's sick of what they're doing. All right. So I don't know if people outside the United States know this, but what they would call the policy error at the state level in California is so epic that, it's going to have profound repercussions. What those repercussions are, I don't know, but I will tell you this. If we share the screen, we just start to look between the lines, right? So let's just break it down. Okay. Let's just break it down simply. So tomorrow we're going to be like, okay, who has a job? Who doesn't have a job? Well, we know there are no full-time jobs in the United States. And if there are, they're going to people that just got here, period. Right? I mean, that you have heard me say that very neutrally for a year. I would expect that to continue. Now we have 2 new developments. A news briefing has begun. The Kenneth fire, which started in Los Angeles and burned into associating neighborhoods, okay, has the potential to grow rapidly over the next hour. So they have no control over this thing at all. None. Now, let's go to the next news headline. Governor Gavin Newsom, okay, who makes Justin Trudeau look like Ronald Reagan, that's how far to the left he is, ordered the California National Guard to support the suppression of looting. Wow, all of a sudden, the state of California concerned about law and order? They weren't concerned about having water in the fire hydrant. Now they're worried about, well, we don't want anybody stealing like stretchy pants at Lululemon because that would be the end. The whole state's burning, but gotta watch out for the stretchy pants at the mall. Looting will not be tolerated. We have a total of 8,000 National Guard troops deployed. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, again, if National Guard troops are deployed and people are abandoning their cars and they can't get out of anywhere in Los Angeles, this is a huge place. Not just where the fire is, but the whole city, right? I mean, if you were in Los Angeles, what would you do? Would you be sticking around waiting to see how this turned out? Or would you try to get out? You got to deploy troops because you could have a total breakdown of law and order because they've essentially lost control of the whole situation. Or so it seems. Because, they're not worried about looting. They're worried about like society disintegrating because of this fire. Now, with that said, let's just go back to our preparation mindset, okay? Because the night before the payroll number, that's all you can do. So I'm guessing you're going to have a substantial amount of people out of work for an extended amount of time in California. I mean, you've got extensive destruction. So whatever labor market statistics you're going to be getting for the next 3 months are going to be skewed by this event. You will have creative destruction at some point because, they're going to move in and open up Home Depot and, put whatever they can back together. You also have a capital destruction event because not all these buildings are insured. So it's just like a total wipeout. So employment statistics will be skewed. I don't know if it's inflationary or not. I don't know. It depends on what the federal government's response to this is. But whatever it is, I think it throws into question what's gone on with the numbers over the last 2 years. And I also think it's a painful reminder of the terrible bag and the terrible problem that they're leaving the orange man when he gets into office. Now, as I see it, as you knew last night, and again, we'll go over some news and we'll talk about it. I think the only way out of this problem, the only way to get anyone's attention is with the currency or with the currency market. Now, we're not going to moon Bitcoin if the bond market's going to collapse. And I understand fear is very high. I saw a tweet from the guy from Zero Hedge today that said people were as depressed, in his opinion, as they were off FTX. And everybody knows now about the Head and Shoulders, and we'll go over that. But all you can do is get ready, right? Get ready for what? Well, first thing is 3 days of volatility. 3 days of just insane volatility, right? Because you have the reaction off the number, which will be all algorithm based, which is a nice way of saying, it may not be based in reality. The algo is just going to read whatever number Uncle Sugar decides to feed it. So there's that trade. Then there'll be a trade Sunday night because we'll have the whole weekend to most likely process why these troops are on the ground and how bad this really is. Then you'll have Sunday night and then Monday to digest all of this. Now, one thing I am concerned about, because a lot of wealthy neighborhoods are wiped out, that you could have market selling of stocks and possibly crypto. Stocks in particular, right? I mean, your $8 million house just got wiped out. What are you going to do? Well, you got to raise capital. You got to sell. So that is one concern I have, mild. But at the end of the day, the ineptitude, the sabotage of the nation, we looked at England and said this couldn't happen here, and now it is happening, except this is epically serious, where the woke left's, insane policies have led to literally mass destruction. Now, how does that affect crypto? Well, if the bond market falls apart, it's very easy. You're going to wind up having to stop out of altcoins, right? If people lose confidence in the United States government and the bond market, the yield on the 30-year bond breaks through 5%, everything is going down. Now, that said, I think part of the 3 days in volatility will be a down and then up and then down and then up. And they're going to make sure that everyone is out. Now, I don't know if that means thrashing around 90 or 78 or whatever. I don't know. But that's just what we're getting ready for, right? You got to have two scenarios in your head. A thrashing scenario where, you just quietly buy a dip to 90 and see if it comes back. And then there's the other scenario where you may have to dump stuff and try to buy it back at 70, 75. Those are the two scenarios that I think you have to be mentally ready for. But at the end of the day, the market is sending messages through both bonds and currencies. And I continue to believe, I know the orange man's coming into power and that's what's going to save the dollar, but nothing's going to save sterling. Nothing. That's not good for Bitcoin because it makes the dollar stronger. But I think there's a lot of people looking at how this is all working. Like, how can you screw up in California to where you have a mass destruction event like this that's not over? Like, does that not make the case for a different form of money? Like the California event, in my mind, makes the case for Bitcoin. Because I'm always saying on the stream, and I know everyone, people may think it's corny. Like, are you a sovereign individual? Are you safe? Like, are you okay? Like, who makes sure you okay? Well, the answer is you do. You do. I mean, there are people with cartons of almond milk outside their house in California trying to put out fires with almond milk because there's no water. And I saw that and I'm like, well, you know what? They want to sell me Bitcoin at 92K. I'll take some of that. Thank you very much. They're dumping sterling with reckless abandon. Sterling is a major currency. Sterling in the days of old was a warning sign of a major problem in markets. Sterling, you know what? Let's bring it up. Let's look at it. We're just like doing chalkboard tonight. So this is some old school stuff that I am interested in. So let's look at sterling on a monthly basis, right? So as you can see, it's not a disaster, but sterling has broken down here. And in the past, right, when you have really big breaks in sterling like you had in July of 2008, that was the warning sign for the crisis. So this is the exchange rate, the number of dollars you can get with 1 pound. Okay. This was a crisis. Now, this is obviously not the same thing, obviously, but it is down only. And I know it's at the discount zone, but I don't know, man. We'll see if it stops. But the currency market is voting, which I'm happy about that. Because, what's going on over there is unconscionable. You can go to jail for what's on Facebook, and apparently criminals doing awful things are running rampant. So the currency market is voting quietly, but it is voting, right? Because this has been down only for, I don't know, since December. It's probably one of the reasons why the dollar's going higher. Now, if you didn't understand any of that, let me help you out. When sterling goes down, you can have a crisis. If sterling goes down a lot, you can have a big crisis like 2008. I don't think that's going to happen, but we need a different currency, don't we? Like, I know they're going to go after the bond market. I know, there's all the, because I mean, prices are higher and there's no jobs. So, I mean, it's the ultimate stagflation thing that, if these numbers are true, that's what they're going to show. They're going to show no jobs and inflation, persistent inflation, which to me is mega bullish gold, by the way. Like, if we don't want sterling and we don't want paper currencies, we got to want gold. And I think we got to want Bitcoin too. Really? I mean, can you seriously look at what's going on in the US and the UK and say we don't need a different currency? So again, you got to have a plan where, you buy a big dip. You got to have a plan where, you stop out of trades that just didn't work. But most of all, I think you got to have a plan to counter any depression. Like, I'm a patriotic American. I live in Texas. Generally speaking, Texas and California are rivals and political opposites. And I'm really upset about what is happening to our citizens in California. And I'm from Texas. Okay. So, in my opinion, when I look at this, I'm like, we need to be able to take care of ourselves. We need a different currency. That's my opinion. And if the governments want to try to shake us out, like the government's going to sell Bitcoin, I want to see them press the button on the Bitcoin. They don't want to sell the Bitcoin because the people who push the button are going to be out of a job. They're gone. I mean, is that what they want? I don't think so. Elon's going to get most of them anyway. Why do they want to give them an excuse? What all these governments want is fear, which could also be the reason why they're putting troops on the street in California. They want fear and division, right? The more, the merrier. That's it. That's been it for a long time, right? And are you going to fall for that? That's the question. Are you going to fall for the scare tactic? Are you going to fall for the division? Are you going to fall for the distraction? Like when it was going up, I was like, don't get distracted. And you're like, well, Bill, of course I'm not going to get distracted. Okay, well, here's the distraction. Here it is, right? And if these algorithms hit Bitcoin tomorrow, scare everybody, we'll see what happens. I think the way I'm going to say it is I'm going to respect the charts, but there's nothing more bullish than a bearish formation that doesn't play out. All right. So with that said, let's do kind of the opposite of what I normally do. And let's just go to PowerPoint and continue this whole idea of, I know you want the crystal ball in front of the number, but in front of a number, all you can do is get ready. Okay. Let's not do that right now. Okay. So Sterling is in the discount zone. The greatest thing that could happen is that the current English government resigns or calls elections, or, they're forced out and something happens and Sterling turns higher. That would be the most bullish thing for Bitcoin ever. Right now, it's the Great British Peso. And, you need to take care of yourself. Okay, now here's Bitcoin. So this is a euphoric attempt to go up that fails, right? This is a euphoric attempt to go up and it fails. And then this was the big one where it was going to 140 and I was on board and Lux Algo was buying it. And then boom, the bond market takes over and, the dark side attacks, right? With fire and bond market crises and you name it. Okay. So if you break this line and stay below it, which is something like 92, I don't know, it implies like, 79, because you would travel this distance down from here. So, this distance is like, $15,000 and you'd go down $15,000 in Bitcoin. And by this time, a lot of people were drawing it and I didn't respect it, but I got to eat humble pie every now and then. So now we have to live with the fear of this. Now, the most amazing thing that can happen is that they break down, make everyone hysterical, and then bring it back. That's the most bullish thing that can happen. Literally, is that they drop it Everybody goes, oh my God, and then they bring it back. Just keep in mind, though, that doesn't seem likely that it would come back quickly because remember, the payroll number is the 10th and CPI is on the 15th. So even if they blow off the payroll number, they're staring at the inflation numbers right after that with the bond market still on edge. Again, we don't know. But that is a recipe. Like, uncertainty is toxic for markets. It's toxic. Like, we don't know what's going on with bonds. We don't know what's going on with the fire. We don't know what's going on. We do know the orange man comes into office, right? And that should be a defiantly bullish event for crypto. You know, the government is threatening to sell Bitcoin. I don't know if they're going to do it or not. We don't know. So you got to be ready for 92. You got to be ready for 89 and then a recovery back to 92. And then you have to be prepared for 78. So that in the event that that happens, you're not wiped out. Okay. So ETH looks, it's the same formation. It's just, I'm so upset. I mean, ETH broke down out of one of these algo accumulation zones. I mean, this is like one of the most brutal fake outs I can remember because it hit the line and it was going, and then Vitalik sells it and the bond market crashes. Now you're looking at this huge, ugly formation. Same kind of head and shoulders. Ironically, the only thing that doesn't look like a disaster is Solana, which is funny, right? I mean, Solana, it's not really a head and shoulders, and it never really went up. And it's just sort of sitting here. So, okay, you know, there's support at 178. We'll see. Okay, all you can do is be ready, because obviously if Bitcoin goes to 79 or 80, then, you know, this will be a mess too. But I'm very interested to see what happens if bond market, if it doesn't break down tomorrow. There is a scenario where the market doesn't do anything and just sits there and makes you uncomfortable. That wouldn't be so bad. All right, let's talk about bonds, because, you know, that's going to be all the talk. I mean, that's, you know, they're not going to stop talking about it over the next 4 days. Like, the bond market's got center stage. So this is the yield on the 10-year note. The yield is around 470, which was like the high from back in April. So the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates and the bond market raised them. Inflation is not under control by the statistics. Everyone's blaming the Fed. I believe the Fed is highly political and has no interest in seeing the orange man succeed. Matter of fact, all you hear out of the Fed is, oh my God, everything the next administration is going to do is make inflation worse. The new administration hasn't done anything yet. The current administration is just like indiscriminately printed and spent money. But, you know, we're going to get hysterical about what the next group's going to do. Well, okay. I mean, Stan Druckenmiller is short bonds and betting on higher rates, and he's never been wrong about anything ever. So here we are, right? Now, I don't know, personally, if I was a hedge fund guy and people got hysterical and bonds went down and rates went up, I would take profits, because I think the job market stinks. And I think Elon is going to cut government spending, because the only way Elon and Vivek are ever going to be able to show their face again after this Visa debacle is if they save us from the bond market by cutting government spending. U.S. 30-year bond yield is headed for 5%. This is the way mortgage rates get set. I don't know if you saw Jimmy Carter's funeral, but did you see the orange man whispering back and forth with Barack Obama? Sounds like maybe we got a situation on our hands, don't we? Like if political party doesn't matter and we're all sort of like talking together, you know, this isn't good for anybody. And if they crack this thing over the next 3 days, you're going to have staggering crypto volatility. I'm not trying to FUD. I'm just telling you. Now, a 30-year bond at 5%, to go through that level, like, there's going to have to be a reason. Now, maybe the Treasury, Janet Yellen, are going to stop supporting the Treasury market. Maybe they want it to blow up in the orange man's face. Funny how that is, right? All this stuff happening right at the change of power. 50-mile-an-hour winds in California. Normally, these fires are during the summer. Amazing how we're having them in January, huh? Funny how that works. Anyway, I'm thinking it takes a catalyst to go through 5%. If it doesn't go through 5%, crypto will live. If it blows through 5%, we get ended. That's 80K. It's as simple as that. But I can't determine that, and I wouldn't determine that until Monday. Now, if you can't take the pain of whatever you got going on now, you can make any type of position adjustment over the next 3 days that you have to. Personally, I don't think this can go through 5% and stay that way. I think this is going to be like a wick event where they're going to wick the bond market and then wick the currency market and then wick crypto, right? This is like every market maker's trader's dream, right? Massive uncertainty, massive emotion, massive chart points to just, fade the big up moves and fade the big down moves and get everybody all emotional and off balance. Gold. Hey, here's a simple chart. Persistent inflation, job market challenges, Fed not doing anything. And ironically, everyone wanted to sell gold to buy Bitcoin at 100K. And I said, don't do that. Buy Bitcoin, but don't sell gold. This looks like it's going to 5,000. This just looks like technical analysis textbook, page 20. Market goes up, goes sideways, and then goes higher. It's like gold, XRP, and Bitcoin. I'll take it all. We'll do some silver too while we're at it. We need a different currency. Like, this is the most positive chart out there. Like, oh, it's terrible. It's a head and shoulders top in Bitcoin. Yeah, but this looks like it's just going to go up only if it breaks out. And it probably is going to break out. Right? Because, who isn't sick and tired of this? Like, my grandmother was from Manchester. Like, my father was half Italian and half English. So, if they want to act in the UK in a certain way that is beyond belief, I have no problem with everyone selling paper currencies and buying gold and Bitcoin. I'm furious. And this trade, like I said, I don't know why people gave up on this the way they gave up on Bitcoin in September. Stupid. Like, this is the most hopeful chart for crypto. Now, if we start looking at the mark work, this is TLT. I'm just going to be brief here. I don't have a sign of a bottom yet, despite how oversold the bond market is. So that's where I get this idea that they may press this for 4 days. Stan Druckenmiller wants it to break 5%. He wants to break the market. So they may press this thing for 4 days. And I don't think you can make a determination about crypto unless, you're losing the rent money. You're going to have to let this thing be extremely volatile for 4 days. Okay, this is the dollar index. Again, it looks like a big move can occur if you look over here at the Williams oscillator. And even though it's at the premium zone, I don't have a sell signal down here yet on Lux Algo. I don't have it yet. Maybe we'll get it tomorrow, but it's not there as of now. So I don't know, but could that mean more weakness in sterling or more problems in China? I don't know. It probably means more volatility in crypto. Dollar index is at resistance, but, these topping signals didn't work. Okay. Let's see who's here. I don't even know. Did I welcome anybody? Maybe I missed it. Okay. Banks 911, SGSG, Pete, what's up? Michael. Okay. We the people. Okay. Miklo, Edgar, what's going on? Stock market didn't go red like crypto. I know. Yeah, it didn't. It's amazing. Alexandra, good night. B. Hunter, Kane, Zav, Young, Huber's Ranch, what's going on? Victor, Tyson, Jason, good evening from New York City. Dara Coley, James, Aunt Lara, Lester by virtuals, right? Dominic, Kirkville, Avi, Jason, Jockey, Michael, Crypto Scam. Wow, it's a crowd tonight. Sam, Drew, living in Texas, military vet. I need help. We need a different currency, right? We need a different currency. Gian, Fernando, what's going on? Redbeard Crypto. Video is the only thing. There's video and Twitter. Okay, let's go to news. Let's just, again, this is just like putting the pieces together for the payroll number. Okay, so we covered this. California, preoccupied with social issues. California has a serious preoccupation with social issues. The primary job of government is to protect the people, not tell you what to do or who to talk to or how to dress or how to talk. Supreme Court denies the Orange Man's motion on the New York trial. Is that a surprise? Nope. Because, they're going to hand the Orange Man the worst bag possible. And the justices that voted against it were some of the justices that he put in power. Nation state adoption to drive Bitcoin growth, says Fidelity, sees a new era. Okay. So hopefully that means we didn't just have a bubble because everyone declared a new era. However, I think Fidelity is correct. We need a different currency. Corporate Bitcoin holdings have more than doubled in the past year. They can do the strategic Bitcoin reserve with corporations and states. They don't have to do it at the federal level. And this nonsense about them selling, you let them sell. Let them just get it out of the way. Because you know what? When they sell, there's no big seller left. They should go do it. They should just let the payroll number print tomorrow and market sell 6 billion. And then when they're all done, it'll go straight up because there won't be any big sellers left. So please, the thing that's funny is if they did that, the Chinese would probably come into the open market and take it all. But people have not thought about that at all. That the U.S. government market sold all of that Bitcoin, Michael Saylor, Coinbase, and the Chinese would be there to take it from them. Ripple's stablecoin. I can see a day when XRP and Ripple stablecoin are in the top 5. This could be bigger than Tether overnight. Overnight. Not over tomorrow night, but once they get in power and once they start bull posting crypto, because they're definitely going to have to change the subject. I mean, people are really upset about this thing in Los Angeles. I mean, people are depressed. I mean, I think the guy on Zero Hedge is right. Haven't seen anything like this in a while. Everyone is going to want your Bitcoin, a public service announcement from the other Orange Man. Laura Loomer has got her blue check mark back. An American right-wing commentator demonetized by Elon. So she lost all of her subscribers and her blue check solely because she challenged Elon. Just in case you don't think you need to be a sovereign individual, whether you live in Los Angeles or whether you have a Texas mentality, guess what? You have to care about you. And if they try and wash you out, if you get stopped out of all coins, then you're going to use that money to roll right back into Bitcoin, right back into something, because when they get done with all this nonsense, we're going to need a different currency. That's what you're going to say to yourself. Because when the footage of California, of everyone standing outside their house weeping, you're going to be like, we need a different currency. Don't you think it's funny that all these big players are donating all this money to the inaugural fund? I don't know that the inaugural fund needs the donations, but you know, I don't know with those kind of checks being written that we're going to get America first. We're going to get tech bros first because that's what we got right now. That's why they made an example out of Laura. I don't know Laura, but you know, I don't know why Elon's. I know I shouldn't say these type of things, but I don't know why Elon's picking on a woman. I know that's not politically correct. There's plenty of people on Twitter to pick on. I don't know about this, but this does drive the point home. They gave her blue check back, but her subscribers are not there yet. Okay, so here's Uncle Sugar. There's their Bitcoin position, $6 billion. And we'll all sit here and wait to see if they sell. They're not going to sell. You know why they're not going to sell? Because they want you to be upset right up until the moment where the orange man takes his hand off the Bible. And who knows? They may wait. They may do something one day later. I don't know. How fast can he get control? They want you to be afraid. And they're doing a great job, aren't they? How Doge can cut $1 trillion in federal spending. Okay. The left pretends the first dollar cut will be firemen, Social Security, and national parks. The truth is there's $1 trillion of waste and cronyism that no voter wants. Los Angeles Fire Department, the mayor cut the fire department's budget, $17 million. And they didn't do the right thing on water. It's like they wanted it to happen. Department of Justice cleared to sell all their Bitcoin. Once upon a time, there was a guy named Dirty Harry. It's played by Clint Eastwood. So this is my message to whoever's got their finger on the button for the 6.5 billion Bitcoin. Go ahead, make my day. Go ahead. Sell it. Market sell it. Push the button. Go ahead. We'll see who's down there. It's like buyers versus sellers. It's like, okay, terrible chart formation, bond market falling apart. Here's your big chance. Go for it. I'm willing to take 78K. I'm willing to stay on the air. I'm willing to have people say, you know what, whatever, you got too bullish. I don't care. Take it down to 78. We'll see at 78. If you can't hold it below 90, we'll see at 92. And then we'll see at 122. So I can wait until they're all done. What I'm not going to do is be afraid. I'm not doing that. 250 million USDC minted at Circle on Solana. They're coming on Solana. The next ICO boom is being queued up. Probably led by AI agents, which strangely, no one seems to talk about anymore. Everyone was talking about it like 5 days ago. It was the only thing anyone was talking about. Now, no one is talking about it. They're going to mark that stuff down 50% or more. They're going to hand it to you. It's amazing. CleanSpark, NASDAQ listed company, owns 10,000 Bitcoin. Radium will release perpetual futures trading. So another platform can get everyone levered up and stop everyone out. Michael Saylor says the first country to print its currency to buy Bitcoin will gain a significant advantage. If they had traded sterling for Bitcoin 6 months ago, they'd be in better shape now. Instead, I don't know. It's like, what can governments do? They can, have the fire hydrants not work or put you in jail for what you say on Facebook, or they can buy Bitcoin and get Web3 going. This year, I vowed to be more positive, right? Let's figure out how all this negative stuff gets resolved in a positive way. And of course, the market, or just the way life is, right? In order to be positive, you have to actually want to stay positive in the face of the overwhelming negative. It's easy to be positive at 102. It's not easy to be positive at 92 when it looks like it's going to snap. I think you still have to stay positive. You have to acknowledge risks. But Michael Saylor's right. And the news is telling you, right? Yeah, they're going to put the army on the streets in California to protect, I don't know, to protect who? You? They had their chance to protect you. How did they do? It's a perfect thing to talk about, because if you want to talk about the fire in California, you need to be looking at a picture of Michael Saylor and you'd be like, wow, yeah, that guy who says we need a different form of money. Guys, I have some bad news. BlackRock is selling. All right. So people are selling the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. So BlackRock has to sell Bitcoin. That's how it works. If everybody panics in the Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock will sell. Estimated distributions of the Bitcoin supply: 70% retail, 4% business, 1.5% governments. Interesting, huh? A lot of people were selling Bitcoin at 100K, thought they were out of their mind. Perhaps not. Funds only have 6%. There is a lot of Bitcoin. There's a lot of Bitcoin that these characters don't own. We need a different currency. The Eaton fire is approaching communication towers which service local media outlets through Southern California. These towers, located at the top of Mount Wilson, are also used by law enforcement. Law enforcement, fire, media, and television stations use radio as a major broadcast point. Gee, we have the whole state on fire. We have the communication towers going on and the army on the street. Interesting, don't you think? I do. Solana outperforms Bitcoin and Ethereum next year, according to an analyst. What happens if they wipe this market out and it comes back led by the Orange Man and XRP, and an ICO boom starts? From great pain comes great opportunity. U.S. Financial Service Committee declared they will create a regulatory framework for digital assets. Yeah, I know, but we can't think about that because we're too busy staring at the yield on the 10-year note. Okay, fine. We'll see after the CPI number. After the computers are done trading, and after they're done giving everyone one final scare, when the Orange Man takes his hand off the Bible, wherever Bitcoin is right at that moment, can't give you investment advice, but read my mind. Hive Mapper has got 30% of the world mapped. Congratulations to anybody who got in early. Latest Coinbase reports received a CFTC subpoena related to Polymarket. Wow, they even got the CFTC after Polymarket, huh? This administration, they just won't stop. Kashi embraces crypto with USDC support across all of its networks. All right, let's go to some live TA. Let's see what we got. Let's just do what we can to add to our preparation. Okay, so this is ETH versus Bitcoin. You can have one more big puke. This is on a 4-hour chart. I think we could only be that lucky. All right. Now, Bitcoin, they did a fantastic job of running the stops. I mean, they really ran everyone out of this. So they dropped it below this DeMarc point at 93. They dropped it. They dropped it. They gave you a hope rally. They wicked it down. They gave you hope. They dropped it again. Now they're bringing it back. So I guess whatever happens at 93, I guess that's kind of like your pivot point. So if Bitcoin can get itself back above that line, things would be okay. And if it can't, well, you know what's going to happen, right? So we'll see. But, they're just And this may go on for a couple of days. You may have to just grab some popcorn, manage risk, and settle in because, this could be fake. They could whip it up and then take it back down on CPI. I just don't know, honestly. Okay, Solana, Solana broke support at 190. Let's see if he can get back above there. Again, to me, this just looks like a giant stop fishing exercise. And they could be done, or it could take till the CPI number. I mean, the counter argument on all this hysteria about numbers, what are these numbers going to tell us that we don't already know? Like, positive job numbers are fake because those jobs are going to people with visas. We know that. It's everywhere. It's all over the internet, right? All the job numbers have been revised, so why would this one be any different? And then there's the inflation numbers, and inflation was higher over Christmas, which is why people stopped using their credit cards, which is what we covered yesterday. So I don't know. Everyone's looking for this like raging economic growth, and it's not there. So they'll tell you some story with the numbers, but really what matters is, what does Mr. Market do? After this breakdown, does something happen where, it comes back? If it comes back, awesome. If it doesn't, we got 4 days of blah. Okay, MicroStrategy, very interesting that, it didn't move much. And I don't know if they got one more trip down or not. I don't know. But I do know that if they take it down in this gap here and short sellers can't get gratification, so either it's 275 or 220, assuming they can do that. And if they can't do it, there could be a squeeze in this. In other words, you got to look out past the economic data hysteria. Because, at what point in crypto has it paid to get hysterical over one economic number? It hasn't. This is going back 2 years. It really hasn't. You let legacy have its flash in the pan, and then we go back to our business, which is that we need a different currency. How much pain can you take? I don't know. I have a feeling we're about to find out, to be honest. Everyone wants it to be over now, and this might not be over until CPI, at which point, that number probably comes out, and then the orange man takes power, and then a month from now, you won't remember what the problem was on January 9th. You're like, hey, remember when we were all worried about that? Yeah, we need a different currency. Yeah, I don't know why we got distracted from that. Okay. See what we got in the chat. Right? Crypto scams, like they can take it down. I'll be there. Sam, much love to you, sir. California and Oregon, lush green places 20 years ago. Now, literal hell, and I went to Iraq. And that is the market update. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's called, I need a different currency. You know what I'm saying? I need a different currency. Like, everyone is so wound up about the macro events that this goes back to my standard lecture of why are we here? I did that all last year, and I may have to bring it back. Why are we here exactly? You know what I mean? They want to scare you in legacy. Okay, let them scare you. And then you can just look at them and go, yeah, that's why I'm here. So you may have to remember this kind of thing in the event that, things get dramatic tomorrow. I don't know how you have a major city in the United States like in a state of like total chaos and natural disaster and have a runaway economy. I don't see this as a runaway economy at all. Matter of fact, I think this could hurt a lot of people and slow growth down dramatically if it continues, particularly since there's a social disorder element. It was you may really be tired of how sovereigns treat you regardless of who's in power, right? Because, you can think that your vote counts, and it does in a way, but can you write $1 million checks? No. So I say, let's be sovereign individuals. I say Bitcoin, privacy, Web3, Solana. I'm even willing to throw Ethereum in there, but we may have to deal with 4 days of volatility. But volatility is your friend, because if I told you at 102 that there is a remote chance that you might get to buy it at 82, when it was up there, you would have loved it. You would have been like, oh, wow, thank God I can buy it at 82. If they sell it to you down there, or they sell it to you on any kind of panic trade. So it may not be, my final word, it may not be about price. It may be about time and emotion. Like, instead of one big down move, maybe they're just going to leave it in this area and continue this, like, oh my God, this fear trade. Fear trades can persist until they run out of gas, right? Like negative news headlines. It takes a lot of energy to sustain negative news in a bond market. I remember this from other crises, right? So if we're supposedly having a bond market crisis, according to Janet Yellen, because of everything that they did, right? It requires a lot of negative news to maintain that, even if hedge funds are pressing it. Okay. So when they run out of gas, who's going to be left standing, right? Is it going to be the hedge fund savages or the billions of people who need a different currency, right? Like sick of sterling, sick of the yen, sick of the euro, sick of the sovereigns behind it all, sick of whoever is trying to make you afraid every day, right? So gold, silver, Bitcoin, XRP. I didn't cover XRP. I should. Let's do it. See, that's what I'm talking about. There's XRP right on a Lux Algo triangle. I tell you, I swear, wouldn't it be unbelievable if they're just like going, oh, here you go. Sorry we scared you with our $6.5 billion Bitcoin sale for the 20th time. I'll just take all the XRP you have. Thank you. And, if you guys want to sell it tomorrow or the next day or on CPI or on whatever, nothing has changed except we need a different currency. That's it. Okay, people, that's the market update. Payroll number in the morning. All bets are off when the number comes. But remember, algos always do weird things the day of the number. The actual trade is probably on Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.